Hi, T.O.T. Carlson here. I'll never get tired of the music of the Beatles. And every time some sort of new Beatles film, documentary, biopic, what have you comes out, I definitely need to go and give it a watch. A few years back, Ron Howard, an esteemed filmmaker in his own right, put out this documentary, The Beatles, 8 Days a Week, The Touring Years. I'm going to unbox this release and I will share my opinions regarding the documentary. Nice cover art of the group there and their logo in the background. The tagline, of course, reads, "The band you know, the story you don't." Then the top and the bottom of the box are just blank. Inside we get this gatefold package with our disc. Got some nice panoramic art there. And we actually get a pretty thick booklet here, which is very nice. And there's a quote there from George Martin. This is actually an ad for the Hollywood Bowl concert CD, which was finally issued on CD as a companion piece to the film. There are some very cool photographs and essays inside this book. And we get two discs in this package. Disc one, of course, is the main documentary itself. And disc two is the bonus features. Underneath the discs, we get this nice panoramic art of their instruments, including a drum head, and that actually looks pretty cool. 8 Days a Week, The Touring Years, is a look at just that. It's the Beatles when they were on tour in their middle period, going all around the world to places like America, Australia, Japan, and just the seemingly non-stop, no-break lifestyle that they had to go through. John Lennon, George Harrison, Paul McCartney, and Ringo Starr went to the ends of the earth and entertained audiences all around the globe, but seeing something from their perspective and how this harsh touring life was on them, leading to them eventually becoming more of a studio band, is certainly a bit of a revelation. And of course, that's what Ron Howard's documentary tries to shed some light. I do admire the fact that Ron Howard, again, a fantastic director who's known for movies like Backdraft and Apollo 13, decided to make a documentary on the Beatles. This just sounded like a match made in heaven. Unfortunately, there are a lot of aspects of this film that just don't quite work the way they should. The biggest problem I have with this documentary is this choice of interviewees. I mean, I don't understand why Ron Howard didn't go out and interview friends and family of the band, bandmates, professionals that worked with them, music historians. Instead, we get a lot of interviews with historians who aren't music historians, and then we get a lot of Hollywood celebrities like Sigourney Weaver and Whoopi Goldberg, who I do respect as entertainers, but again, for something that's supposed to be the untold story of the Beatles on tour, they just seem like very inappropriate inclusions here. If this was a documentary on the Beatlemania phenomenon from the 1960s, they would be excellent inclusions here, but it just seems like a very odd choice, some of the people that Ron Howard chose to interview for the documentary. That said, though, there are some nice bits of archival footage that have been cleaned up, and those look very nice. As is, I would have to say, this is probably more of a documentary for casual fans and people who are new to the band, although I think everyone who watches this will learn at least maybe one or two new things. One thing I learned here that was actually pretty interesting is that the Beatles absolutely refused to play in venues that had segregated audiences, which of course at that point in time were largely just in the American South, but I actually did not know that, so I did learn one thing new from this documentary that was quite nice. So it is a bit of a hit and miss affair. I mean, the tagline says, it's the story you don't know, but the fact of the matter is there's not really anything here that you don't know for the most part. It's pretty much stuff that you've all seen in other Beatles documentaries, read in Beatles books. If you're expecting something that's going to be this out-of-this-world revelation of the Beatles' secret life on tour, sadly, this movie is not it. If you're looking for a good documentary on the Beatles anthology series from the 1990s remains the definitive one that you can go out and watch. And then there's also that great Get Back documentary from some of their final sessions that's on Disney+. So as is, I would say 8 Days a Week, The Touring Years is a good but not great documentary, and I can give it a modest recommendation, but not much more than that. The newly filmed interview footage here looks pretty good, and a lot of the archival footage was actually cleaned up really nicely, something that doesn't happen a lot when you're dealing with documentaries that deal in archival footage. Some other older footage, understandably, doesn't look too good, but again, most of it's watchable and I don't have any major problems. We do get bonus features on the second disc, which is, again, the main feature runs about 100 minutes, and we get almost 100 minutes worth of features that didn't make it into the film. But what's really surprising here is a lot of this footage is actually better and makes more sense than what ended up in the film. So, I mean, why is there footage of Peter Asher, who was running Apple Records, and footage of their Japanese photographer during their controversially received Japanese performance at the Budokan, and it's not in the final movie? Yet Whoopi Goldberg and Sigourney Weaver are. That just boggles the mind. I'm glad that material was included here in some shape or form, but it really does make you question as to the nature of the final cut of the movie. So overall, if you can find this one for a good price, if it's on sale for pretty cheap, I would add it to your collection. But there are certainly better Beatles documentaries out there, and I can really only give this one a modest recommendation. If you find it on sale for really cheap, go for it. How about you? What did you think of this Beatles documentary from Ron Howard? Do you think it was a good, well-told story of the Fab Four on the road back in the day? Do you think some of the interviewees were questionable? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content because I'm always posting new videos. And make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.